definitely helped Rogue elevate their game.
So where are we going to play? Well, let's go ahead and find out. We'll go through the map veto and get down to the final one. He's got a large wingspan.
I feel like a game show host at that point.
I don't know what you're referencing.
Game shows, Michael, like game shows.
Never
like
watched
Jeopardy,
those.
Wheel of Fortune.
I didn't have a TV growing up.
Oh boy. We're going to Villa. So there you go. Cafe Dostoevsky is blocked out, which is probably good for the Sonics because I don't think Rogue has lost it since year 1, going all the way back. The last, like, a number of teams in Valencia took Rogue to Cafe, and they all met their maker at the hands of Rogue. Stop taking Rogue to Cafe, at least for the time being, until you figured it out a little bit better. But
if we're talking about year 1, like really far back, actually, Cafe used to be a map they didn't like to play, but that's like when the roster, it was entirely different than what it is now. Who's going to win?
Damn.
Rogue, apparently.
That is quite the statistic. 83% of you think that Rogue will walk away with this, with only 11% of you thinking that the Sonics will do anything to be able to beat Rogue, which,
I'm not...
The way that these two teams have played, online, they haven't been that different. But LAN is a totally different beast, and Rogue has typically been a team that succeeds when they compete in a LAN environment, side by side, on stage, off camera. It doesn't really matter. Sonics haven't had the same breadth of experience when it comes to LAN performance, but yeah, those names are, just flip the names, that's all. It's Sonics, Rogue, and then Rogue Sonics.
Don't worry about it. Look at the pictures.
Ignore it. Just look at the
logos.
The image.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't read. Who reads?
Nobody reads.
Don't read.
You know. So, getting into the match, again, Villa, Rogue starting on attack, which means that Sonics are going to start off the bans, and this is a very aggressive ban here from Sonics, getting rid of a Thermite. So, a lot of the time on Villa, the people who start on defense, or even the attackers, depending on what they, depending on the team, will try to get rid of one of the more influential hard breach operators, or people who play into that kind of whole mini game. So Thatcher, Thermite, Habana, Maverick, and I think on Villa, it's safe to say Maverick is a pretty common one, but Thermite is a very, very interesting one. It is going to limit the way that a lot of teams can play on this map, and of course there is that new. Well, I say new. There is that relatively new trick that people have been doing with the Thermite, where if you open up the panel, then you can't impact trick. So it gives you a lot more maneuverability with that Thermite. Now you, don't have that maneuverability because he's banned.
Now you're going to notice a couple things. First and foremost, let's just pay a quick moment to everybody in the top right-hand corner who are being absolutely slayed by the developers. You're going to see a lot of was banned for toxic behavior over the next couple hours, and there's a huge ban wave that is currently in effect. There goes another one.
It was all through LATAM too.
There was an exploit wherein people could crash the game by typing in a very specific set of characters, and people did that, and well, good riddance, I say to them. So they are in timeout.
Yeah, I think when I read it, and it seemed like it was based on how many times you did it, and it was temporary or something like that. I imagine there's probably some permanent ones in there, though. Who knows? Ubisoft did it. We're kind of non-specific on that one. But still, I guess timeout is the best way to put it. And rightfully so, I would say. Oh, yeah, look at that. You can also check out the...
There's a lot of new stuff that you're going to see.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of lower thirds, but also assets that have been used. I was going to say graphical assets, and I was going to say graphets. And that's not a word.
No, it's not, but
it's not.
You can make words up. It's okay, Parker. Now, the one thing that's really interesting is this reinforcement in the middle of the site. You don't actually see a lot of teams reinforcing that wall at all. And other than that one panel, they've opened up the rest of it. One for rotate, the other for murder. So like, throwing gas canisters, C4, just shooting somebody. And that's an interesting setup there on that wall for Sonics. It's very specific. So I want to know exactly what kind of angle play is going to come off of that. And I look forward to seeing how Sonics plays around, for example, pool table or the game room bar. Apatow's going to be really influential in this, him being unbanned.
Keep in mind that easily plays Thermite an awful lot. So that ban is not just going to be targeted towards a good operator who's effective on this map, but also somebody who knows him and uses him well. A lot of teams do have a dedicated Thermite, Habana, or Maverick main. Sometimes they are not the same person. Look no further than Space Station, where you'll find that back when he was on the team, it would be Redeemer oftentimes possibly playing as Thermite, with Chalo playing as Habana. You see the same here. It's going to be Shuttle, who's going to be tasked with the primary hard breaching, because you've also got a Maverick on play. And oh no, it actually sounds like an ADS catches that very first air jab. which is a bit of utility that's gone, and that's a very important spot to put the anti-flank gadget because it prevents anybody from pushing you down this classical hallway. The ADS will get burned, now Vertical can go back at it.
There you go, and there's that push, as you were saying, denied now. It's going to be the Maestro, I believe, of Goddess inside of that doorway who just can't aggress on the West Hall. She's going to actually rotate over and try and hold 90 from the North Hall. It's an interesting rotation, and she's not giving up on this just yet.
Oh, and she loses the fight. The first kill of the matchup is going to come to Slash, who instinctively believes her position to be over by the 90 cam, and now Rogue has free access over to the doorway by Bar. They are very, very close to being able to pull this one off. All they need is a distraction on the other side. Gumine's going to hit Slash and knock him into danger territory. And, well, there you go. Neptunes takes out Slash, and now Vertical's going to go on in. He'll take down one, but it's immediately traded out by Ghost. And the Sonics walk away on even footing. 3v3. Pardon the transmission here, as it appears that our signal has been disrupted.
Thanks, Mute. And Easley's looking to try and open up this wall. If he can get entry into the games room bar, that's some really good cover. Because the Legion of Neptunes was eliminated earlier, that is actually easy control for Rogue if they can make the cross happen. They do have Capitao still, so the cross is very possible. But it's all going to come down to what kind of pressure Sonics are applying. As Eclipse takes out Avian, though, that pressure is alleviated no matter where it's coming out. Eclipse still holding on to Study as well. Super, though, gets the refrag, and he's starting to fight back. Ghost on low HP, so this is definitely not looking good for Sonics. And they have the diffuser by the games room bar. This is huge. Eclipse with the cover. He just needs to wait and protect his teammate. Super over by Red Stairs, trying to rotate back. And Study is Ghost. Gas canister well placed to do some damage to both players, and he gets one in the Study Hall. Beautifully done. As Eclipse hits the floor, it's just Easily. He'll retake into Gun Vault, but Super wins that fight with his pistol out, and Sonics on very low HP will take the first round.
Never mess with the dreaded Invisigun. It does an awful lot of damage, and Super wound up clutching it with his team, and look at how low HP Sonics had. That was a tough round, but they won it, and they did so quite well. It was hard to tell if they knew where the positioning was because we couldn't hear if there was any audio cues for them to be able to go off of. Super was downstairs and in a position that looked to be too far away. And it didn't actually look like it was going to be all that helpful, but he came back in the right amount of time, and yeah, pistol out was what he needed to go with at that point. But major credit to Ghost, and Ghost played that one beautifully because you had the Maverick hole that was opened up in the wall that he used against them with the retake by throwing the toxic canister and enough for that smoke plume to be able to hit both members of Rogue, which pushed one out to say, okay, we saw the smoke come from Study, let's contend that angle. And are you going to win it against an SMG-11 with a high rate of fire or a shotgun that can kill you in one shot? A lot of times, no.
That was the big thing. That gas canister did so much damage. It did a whole person's worth of damage to, divide it up by two, so two people. So that was really well placed there from Ghost and a nice retake in that round. The way that they set up that site was really interesting. They were relying a lot on Neptunes to delay as the Legion, because that's what Legions do. And he did a great job by the games room bar to, delay. Got picked off decently early, but he did a lot of damage before dying. And then following that, it seemed like games room door was actually set up as a bit of a trap for the attackers, and once the attackers made their way in, they found themselves without a whole lot to stand on, and again, those gas canisters were really easy to get into position to influence the round greatly. So good job to the Sonics kind of baiting out the games room bar. The thermite ban, I think, was really important through that round.
Yeah, and Sonics played far back enough that it definitely appeared that they were well situated for a retake. Even Goddess's position over by the archway, looking towards 90, you had Super playing down below. The two bodies inside of the site got taken out very early on, and then it left Ghost to basically head for the hills. And there was nowhere else for the Sonics to go, and I think they played it commendably given the circumstances. They were able to push back, let Rogue go in, and realize that with the utility that Sonics had, they were primed to be able to take the site back. And yeah, a couple gunfights going the other way could have really made the difference, given that both Ghost and Super only had 5 HP each. That's a tough situation to find yourself in. They win it by the skin of their teeth. So I like the innovation that we saw in that one reinforced panel as well. You mentioned it. We don't see a lot of teams do that. We certainly don't. And now here as well. This is something that usually only SSG and maybe Reciprocity does, which is put a pulse downstairs. and sit on that cardiac sensor because it goes all the way up to the second floor.
And Rogue are not running an IQ right now. They potentially could, as they're running an Ashe instead, but they want the soft destruction that comes with the Ashe. So they've opted for Slash on that operator. That means that Soniqs playing on not only a Pulse, but also a Valkyrie are going to be a lot safer in terms of their utility. Nice Capital Bolt. It's going to force a rotation. It'll be a drop. So safety there for Avian. Certainly the right call getting out of a bad situation.
And if there's nobody watching the stairs and there's no air jabs position, 2 of them have been used by vertical, so it depends on where they've been put. That might be an opportunity for Avian to get back into the site. And it's very likely that Avian will head on over to Astro Stairs, as that's the stairwell that's being controlled right now by his teammates. So you have a safer passage to get over there, where the other 2 are more, fraught with peril. Though, once again, Rogue have been able to get in towards the site very quickly. I say quickly because it's been a deceptively fast round. There's just under a minute left. Utilities being taken away as Slash on Ashe. Guns down Super, and he's completely removed from action, but he can't land the shots necessary on what appeared to be Goddess. Playing around the deployable shield. There goes an Asphyxiating Bolt to try and dislodge somebody playing behind that shield, but there'll be no dice, at least not for the time being. Rogue on their bellies, prone on in, but there's Avian who got away, and he picks up 2 kills. And next up is Eclipse, who will walk right into the line of fire. Avian still very much in play. Shuttle takes one down, and it's a double for Goddess. She catches all 3 bodies as they fall. Along with Avian, they lock out this entire round, and a defender-sided Villa, unsurprisingly, going in favor of the defense. Even the Falling Corpse couldn't block the bullets when it comes to the Alda, and that's 2 in a row for the Soniqs.
So the clear there from Rogue was kind of linear, I think is a way I could put it. They cleared out the roamers and then started pushing into the site simply from the hallway. Now, usually what will happen for a lot of teams is they'll clear out the roamers and they'll rotate maybe 1 person over to Master or 2 people over to Master to make that Master execution and apply a crossfire and statuary to later then cut off with smokes and plant. Usually what will happen. Or you could just win it on the kills, which happens a lot on Trophy because of the open nature of the site. But Rogue didn't do that. They kind of just got fixated on their hallway push and tried to muscle their way into the site. And the problem with that is that the Soniqs were so well set up to counter that. They had a really good hold inside of Trophy. That was Avian playing close with the SMG-11 and shotgun on that SAS operator, which is the perfect position to find him in. And then they had Goddess using a deployable shield well positioned inside of Statuary to give her more room to breathe in that position, because Statuary is not easy to play in. I think we can be honest about that. Get the deployable shield in there. She can do a whole lot, and she did. At the end of the round, when, again, Rogue tried to brute force their way into the site, they just got clobbered.
Yeah, it was a very singular take from Rogue, right? They went from one angle, they went from one side of Villa. There was nobody over that looked to be over on the blue side. There was nobody who pressured Bathroom. I don't even know if the pulse down below had been spotted at all. So where does Rogue go? They try to, as you said, muscle their way in through the same 2 doorways. And one of the greatest tools that you have to flush out the defenders, those asphyxiating bolts, were really not utilized that well. The first one was used to move Avian out of position, but then there was no follow-up. I don't know if Rogue didn't drone it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rogue realized that even though they got Avian out of position because they didn't have anybody watching Astro and there was a rotate there, maybe they couldn't move in even further. And then where did the second one go? Over towards the deployable shield to move Goddess out. But you know how far forward that deployable shield is. By the time that bolt spreads enough, even a 3-armor at the slowest speed in the game is going to be out of harm's way. And in fact, it pushed her over towards Trophy, where she was able to gun down 3 members of Rogue.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of unfortunate misplay on Rogue. It was also fortunate timing for the Soniqs as well, because I mean, for example, that the first firebolt was well placed to deal with the player inside of Trophy, except though Avian can vault downstairs. And it was just a really easy rotation.
And he got back to site really fast.
And that's another thing. There was a pulse in play, and they had all 5 of their members trying to come from the hallway, right? Why not divert 1 person to Master was what I'm thinking earlier, but even so, like, building on that, why not divert somebody downstairs to clear out the pulse who's obviously going to be down there? And then you also pick up Avian when he rotates. I mean, it was a curious round from Rogue, but as we've talked about it many times, attacking on Villa can be very difficult, and to give them, to give them a little bit of leeway on losing the first 2 rounds of this match. It is definitely something that favors the Soniqs. I mean, the defensive side favors the Soniqs because they're on defense.
I mean, there are also a lot of people that have said that Villa goes more attacker-favored than it used to, which I don't think is a necessarily incorrect statement here to make.
I think it depends on the teams.
Right, and also depends a lot on the bans. Let's be completely honest.
That's true.
Too, right? And it's
Thermite gone. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it was also Montaigne banned, but that was by Rogue, so that shouldn't be crippling them.
I just find it really interesting that there was nobody from Rogue who looked to go over towards the Master side of things, right? If you're doubling up on hard destruction, if you're bringing a Hibana and a Maverick, why don't you at least one person go over towards Master and maybe put a drone in a position so you don't get pushed from bathroom, and then keep the rest of your 4 members over towards the trophy side and maybe towards the one towards statuary door. But there was just nothing, and like I said, there was nobody playing the windows on bathroom, there was nobody playing windows over on Astro, there was nobody on a first floor clear for Rogue. They were all stacked together, and it just didn't work out. You can't fit your way through one doorway when you know there's an Elda on the other side of it.
Best excuse I can come up for Rogue in terms of the way that their attack was kind of one-dimensional, because I completely agree with you, but the best excuse I can come up with is that they were worried about the pulse from below, because the pulse is a menace by Master, you know, because he has a lot of cover and a lot of room to breathe when he's roaming in kitchen or in that general area, really.
And what staircase is right there as well? It's the blue stair up to Astro, right?
Yeah, he's easy rotate.
Yeah, so he's in kitchen, but then he's also got the rotate back down to wine cellar, and then he's also got the staircase right up.
Right. So my best excuse for Rogue is that they were worried about C4 from below. But even saying that, my head immediately goes to, well, then clear him out. You know, just push somebody downstairs then. You know, you have the manpower. They had 5 up when they hit that hallway. They could have rotated downstairs. They didn't spend a whole lot of time clearing out the roamers on the other side of the building by Aviator and Games Room. So I think there's definitely a lot of choice on Rogue, but they decided they wanted to outmuscle the Sonics. And I'm not really sure why they made the decision. Of course, if it had worked, we would be sitting here calling that, going, hey, good for them. But at the same time, not a whole lot of diversity in that strategy, not a whole lot of room to breathe, as I like to say.
I mean, it appears that Rogue was attempting to do something that they had, pre-played, but they just failed at it. And I don't know if they were too utility starved or not. A lot of teams don't try to counter that pulse directly, right? A lot of teams will set up an air jab or a claymore in a position where pulse can't be as effective. But at the end of the day, a lot of teams will just simply ignore it and force it to come back to site. How many games have you seen Rampy literally trying to run to the rescue of Villa because he's been ignored, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but if Rogue had pulled that one out, whether there was a pulse in play or not, I think that we still would be saying,
well,
why did you try to do that way? You got lucky.
Yeah, because that would have been what it would have been, is they would have gotten lucky.
Or the Sonics missing their gunshots.
Yeah, but that's in part luck, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that pops into my head here, and this is going to be something for the future, is what operators are Rogue going to be bringing? Because if you take a look at what's been banned, you got Thermite and Montaigne off. It means Jackal's still in play. That means IQ's still in play. If they're worried about a Pulse Menace, bring both of them. I mean, they're both really great operators. If you don't need as much soft destruction as you do have, well, that's up for them to decide, though. I'm just saying that the tools are there. So if they want to clear out a pulse downstairs, if they want to force that out of the cards for the Sonics, make them have to rotate into something else, there you go. You've got your I suppose your pulse execute. Get rid of the pulse. You can get rid of the pulse. There's options.
Yeah, there was definitely opportunity there for Rogue to have played that very differently. And while they were able to grab control of Aviator in round number 1 and get the plant down, it was a well-played retake from the Sonics. In that second round, it was just a lockout. They couldn't even get into the site to contest against the Sonics.
Yeah.
A lot of that was because it was too linear. And it was funny because Slash gets pick number 1 onto the Valkyrie right through the doorway inside of Statuary. And the only other person that's in there is Maestro, who he very narrowly misses picking off. Mm-hmm. If he gets that, it snowballs from there, whereas Rogue, who still have 3 members whose sole attention is on Trophy, now have a completely open Statuary. And you manage to take Statuary without any hard destruction, which is not always an easy thing to do for teams, given that you figure they'd go for the walls of master bedroom, possibly, or have somebody in bathroom, which would have forced somebody else from the Sonics to come over and possibly contend against Statuary, which then would have made it easier for you to push inside of Trophy, which is what I'm assuming Rogue was trying to do. But they, like I said, they didn't have a lot of utility. They didn't have a Zofia to go with. The Capitao had used both as fixating bolts. The second one was kind of in vain.
Yep. On that note, what you're talking about, actually, they had a Hibana. So, and they were, okay, if they're afraid of the pulse from below, I understand that, but they had a Hibana, so then just go on the master balcony and open the wall from the window, and then you have your crossfire. And then Goddess doesn't get her 3K because she can't play there. But, again, that's all in the past. I mean, we're deep analyzing that round because we needed something to analyze. And, well, it was an interesting second round. The first round, again, I think Rogue could have nearly taken that. It was looking good for a while there, but just a little bit off. But looks like we actually will be getting into the match now. So round number 3 coming out here. And we'll see what kind of changes Rogue are bringing out. So they have decided to bring the IQ instead, or actually, wow, they kept the Ashe and the IQ. Quite interesting. And they're going to get rid of their Capitao for a Sledge. Well, there is no Jaeger on the board for the Sonics, which is, I suppose,
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs
it's an odd
as they
choice.
can.
And the castle makes Sledge kind of a sure thing. You've got nades because no Jaeger, that's awesome. And then you've got a hammer to counter your Sledge, which is the #1 counter to the castle barricade. So this is just, that's a really nice 6-pick from Rogue. And I don't usually say that when you're 6-picking off of a Capitao.
I think the Sledge is a right choice, especially when you're going to be trying to control that second floor. You know, you don't have a ton of space to hide in when you're looking at a kitchen defense.
Yes.
Especially if you're over towards the B bomb site. And because of this, it's pretty easy for a good buck or a good Sledge to make a complete nightmare of the site for most defenders. And if you've got 1 or 2 people that are tasked with doing that soft destruction above, and the Sonics don't have a body controlling that second floor, or if they do and they lose it, there's almost nothing that's going to be able to realistically challenge the Sledge except for the Pulse. Because unless Ghost has a bulletproof camera, he's the only other person on the board that could possibly have the same board.
I also really like, again, can't undervalue the IQ pick here from Rogue, because it's going to play a huge part in countering not only Neptunes on the Pulse, but also, you know, your general gadgetry from Sonics, and just finding out where it is so you can deal with it. Even the Evil Eyes will be faster to deal with because you've got the Ashe to back up the IQ's information. Shuttle's going to be opening up a wall in the pantry. That's going to give him a line of sight all the way into kitchen. And it looks like it won't go off because of a mute jammer. That's unfortunate. We'll see if Rogue can do something about that later on. Probably going to have something to do with soft destruction from above and maybe a nade to back that up. Or actually, no, you can just open up directly above the jammer and get rid of it easily. Rogue are going to have to clear out the top floor before they start opening up from above. And they are currently on that mission.
And Eclipse will take his home upstairs and continue on over. A bunch of different options for him to do as much soft destructive damage as he wants to. There's that B-bomb site that I mentioned that's right below Eclipse to a certain extent. And, well, I mean, it might not be directly overhead, but at least you can open up enough of an angle so that you can see somebody playing down below. Adjoining Sledge will be the IQ of Easily, who's also got access to breaching charges. So he'll be able to do some soft destruction as well. And he knows that Neptunes is not too far off. A good instinctive read from Easily, though he does have a gadget that can help him and try to figure out exactly where Neptunes is in that basement stairway.
Oh, C4 could be impactful, but it's actually going to miss. A little too high there from Neptunes, not enough forward momentum. And no damage done at all to Rogue. And a lot of punch just taken away from the Sonics. Bad nade from Eclipse, but it will fall down eventually. So not the end of the world, just doesn't get anything done. Avian is going to get a kill, looks like through the holes that are being opened by Rogue. Down goes Easily. And that's Avian's Neptune's hard counter eliminated by the castle. So good job. Sonics now, with 40 seconds to hold out, are looking strong in this round. It's going to be a drop here from Eclipse, but you might not know there's someone so aggressive on this door. He will win the fight against Avian, so no more kills for the bird. And now Rogue are just ever so slightly back in this round.
Neptunes gets one for himself. It looks like Super's going to be there as well, as the Maestro has changed hands. Shuttle under fire and doesn't really know where it's coming from, trying to play around the angles, and he's last alive, wandering right into the sights of Ghost, as it's he and Goddess. Tasked with the final 2 kills, and it comes very quickly. Sonics taking their 3rd round in a row, and the defenders right now, they're having a ball.
That's the perfect cycle there for Sonics, and impressively done. I agree with you that, yeah, Villa is less defender-sided than it once was, but clearly in this matchup, Sonics are feeling very, very comfortable, and it does, I think, have to do with the bans, of course, on that Thermite, though. Not sure how much it would have changed that last round. Maybe it would have been more aggression on the Laundry from Rogue, because they would have been more confident in being able to open up the Laundry wall. However, I'm not sure how that would have changed things, because to be honest, the way that Sonics were playing that was pretty decent to counter the way that Rogue were coming about things, especially with the soft destruction from above. Rogue accomplished very little with those holes from above, and I mean, they did manage to get the mute jammer, but it was very late in the round, and then the wall by Pantry got opened up, and then the Habana at that point wasn't really influential, so just things not panning out for Rogue, and Sonics with a solid hold on the site. Got to credit them for that one. Now, since it was a perfect cycle, we're going to go back to Aviator, which was the beginning of the first set here for Sonics. And then going to go for cycle number 2, see if they could pull that off. So far, only 1 kill for Rogue over 3 rounds. If I read, no, pardon me. There was the multiple rehosts we had, so sorry, it slipped my mind somehow. Anyway, probably more than 1 kill for Rogue. Certainly more, actually. I remember many more now that I think about it. And Sonics, while having a really good defensive half so far, could still lose these next 3 rounds and things completely change. Rogue they've always been one of those late game teams that take some time to figure you out and then kind of bounce back, I find. I mean, that changes with the wind, to be honest. It's very fickle, but they've got a history of being able to bounce back in matches.
I mean, this is the inverse of what we saw when Rogue played Reciprocity a couple weeks back. Playday number 2, in fact, where it was just an attacker palooza, winning 10 of the 12 rounds, and it was Rogue actually drawing Reciprocity.
I remember that
matchup
match
in particular, and it was one where it looked like Rogue was going to be able to put it away, and then Rec went on a run to tie it right back up. So this time around, Rogue is not messing about. Instead of having the Maverick, they're going to be running with the singular hard destructor of Hibana. So easily he's got tasked with doing hard breach duty. Bring a Thatcher, that's smart. Clear out the ADSs if they exist. In this case, there will be no Jaeger for Sonics. I guess Super thought that he was entirely necessary. I mean, I like that change from the Sonics, too. They're playing this very, very differently. Neptune's is a little too slow on getting the Electric Claw off, and he's going to lose the protection over by the bar, as that's 2 reinforcements opened up at the ankles by Easily.
Yeah, that's going to make not necessarily playing in the bar easy for Rogue, but denying bar play easy for Rogue. It's going to be, it looks like almost 2 there for Super, but he'll lose it out to Slash after eliminating Shuttle earlier in the round. Kind of thought he was going to get that one as he was pre-aiming it, but no. Well, Sonics do find themselves at an HP advantage, and position is decent here for Sonics. They've got a nice hold on Vault, and that DMR shotgun in the hands of Neptunes can do a lot of damage if handled correctly. But Rogue, because they have the wall by the games room bar opened up, that means that one of the strongest anchor positions for Sonics is eliminated.
Last time around, Rogue had done some good work to flush Goddess out early on 90, but their strategy doesn't seem to involve much classical hall control at all. But there you go. Maybe I speak too soon. It looks like Slash is back on the rappel over on the window, so he could possibly go in a contest against Goddess. Keep in mind, Slash is at 50 HP, and Alda does quite a bit of damage. It can chew through an Ash pretty quickly. Yeah. It's going to put Sonics in a position where they've still got 2 toxic canisters and 30 seconds left. They've got some plant denial, and what a beautiful shot from Neptune's on Easily. He sees the leg of another heading on over, and will have to repel on in, and Goddess is there, prepared and waiting. She'll launch off some artillery and look towards another kill. Just around the corner appears to be the Nomad of Vertical. Goddess waiting. There's nobody there. The DMR cannot hit onto Eclipse. He's traded off by Ghost, and now it's essentially a 1v3. Vertical's in sight. He's going to need to plant, though, and the problem is that the timer is going to hit 0 before he gets off. Makes an awful lot of noise, and there goes the airmail, and it's caught and received by Vertical. 4 in a row for the Sonics. They don't need a retake strategy this time. I guess they might, but they didn't need to retake anyway. The C4 does more than enough.
The thing that's really clear as day to me here is that Sonics have been baiting the bar for every time they go to Aviator games. They want Rogue to try and take bar, and Rogue are trying to take bar every single time. So when they go for a take into bar, they find themselves in a really difficult take in the first place. A lot of attrition on the initial ingress, and then when they try to get the diffuser down, usually they're just stopped cold. But sometimes, if Rogue are having a good round, then Sonics will have to go for the retake. That single reinforced panel by between the sites is actually allowing the Sonics to play safe inside of B, and thus retake into A every single round. So, well, it's only been 2 Aviator rounds so far, but those are the only Aviator defenses we're going to have for the Sonics. So that strat's done. We can't analyze it anymore. And Rogue were successfully, I suppose, bamboozled by how that setup was put together by Sonics. It was a really, really good setup from Sonics. You got to give them credit for the way that they handled that, though, apart from just the actual setup. Sonics are holding their lanes very firmly, and one thing that I'm noticing very strong in favor of Sonics is that they are not giving away any unnecessary kills. Like, usually when the Sonics lose a player, it's somewhere in, I'd say in an essential position and just losing the fight straight up. And it's funny because Sonics aren't necessarily playing especially safe. Like, for example, one person I would highlight is Goddess trying to retake on 90. That's not necessarily a safe play for Goddess, but she's not losing that fight when she goes on to 90. So, yeah, Sonics are just doing really well right now.
I mean, it was also a very lazy air jab that was used by Vertical. It was shot right on the wall in line of sight of Goddess. You aim maybe a bit higher, puts her in a position where she has to get herself into danger. There's a good one from Vertical right there on the roof. Hard to counter. And it's a lot easier when you're trying to anchor on 90, as Goddess was doing, holding down the fort, knowing that you're not going to be pushed, that you're not going to have to worry about getting knocked over, because the only thing that's standing in your way, you've already taken care of. So Rogue is going to continuously cycle through a lot of different operators. They've brought a Capitao back. It's going to be easily running the Capitao. He's been on 4 different operators now by my count, over 5 rounds. Slash is going to go off of the Ashe and go onto a Twitch, because you need to be able to take care of those Evil Eyes. Slash was doing a good job of countering them on Ashe, but I think he feels more comfortable with a better gun in the F2, and then, of course, having a Twitch drone to be able to take out anything else in the process.
I mean, overall, Rogue seem to be trying to experiment to try and get themselves comfortable. One thing I like here is you can see Shuttle is actually setting himself up to open up the master wall eventually. As the Habana, he can late open the wall and get the crossfire we were talking about being important the last time Rogue were on this attack. But it looks like he also has someone trying to fight him in the Master Closet. And that Master Closet pressure is going to deny opening up the Master Wall, which requires Rogue then to rotate a player over here to assist the Habana so they don't lose that Habana in attempting to take Master. And this is just Sonics, and Neptune specifically, successful in wasting a lot of time. Could be a Firebolt here from Easily to take out Neptunes. There it is. That's going to force Neptunes in a bad spot. And, oh, it's a team kill! Goddess doing the work for Rogue, and Neptunes goes down. But he was successful in nothing else other than denying time.
Yeah, I mean, he was a dead man either way. There was no way Neptunes was going to be able to make it out of there alive. His only hope was possibly vaulting out the window and engaging in a fight if there was no Claymore there. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter who takes him out of the fray. Eclipse will reciprocate, at least a little bit belated, as he takes down Neptunes, even though it was a team kill, so to speak. It's Rogue now with an advantage, and the first one that they've really had is Slash in trouble. Goddess is having a banger of a match so far. Just doing excellent work, and EMP will disable the C4 that was being tossed up from Ghost, and that is some very unfortunate timing. I don't know if the Sonics have the coverage to be able to get the plant down. Eclipse will fall off at the last second. They're going to rely on an awful lot of calls as now Goddess goes down to Eclipse. Ghost will try to open something up to stop the diffuser. 6 seconds down, Avian cannot hold the recoil down. He's going to get gunned out from Rogue, and it's all up to Ghost, just patiently waiting. But there he goes, he'll take out Eclipse. He doesn't know it's not the planter, and Shuttle will be able to get it off. It'll be the second successful plant for Rogue. It'll be a retake here from Ghost, but he's been already spotted on drone. This is going to be a suicide mission for him to get back up those stairs.
Oh, he's going to get air jabbed here on the rotation, but it shouldn't delay him too much. It's still definitely winnable for Ghost. He's on full HP. You've got a very lit Shuttle, so post-plant, this can be done, although it's going to be very difficult considering he only has half of that diffuser timer left. One playing in blue, and their shot does land. Easily goes down, but there's your second air jab, and using a lot more of your time. It's much more influential now. One up close and personal. It's going to be Vertical to win the fight, and Rogue will win their very first attack round on Trophy. Or just in general. That was a good execution from Rogue, and the Sonics. I mean, it looked like they were going to be able to have it. They did give away, again, those unnecessary picks that I was talking about not happening earlier. They were happening here for Sonics, and one big factor is actually that C4 from below was about to save the round for Sonics. That was about to get 2 kills and bring them right back in. But the EMP, man, that timing, that is really unfortunate if you're Sonics.
It's that unlucky streak that sometimes teams see. We've actually witnessed a couple really well-timed EMPs to take out C4s, and even just errant bullets hitting a C4 as it sails through the air, hoping to find its target, and in this case, the target actually ended up being that EMP, and the C4 could not go.
Attackers need to locate.
I appreciate that Ghost stayed down as far as he could to continue to give information and really trust his teammates, because Ghost could have fallen off very easily and tried to come back and would have pitted you in, what, a 4v3 at that point? Would end up being a 4v2 because Ghost was down below, and, well, it's difficult to be able to give the information that Ghost was getting to the rest of his teammates that quickly. hold on a second. I love this vantage point because you can hear the pigeons.
Yes, you can.
I was like, what is that? Is there a bird in the studio? No.
No. I think,
Where are they? Find them, Marcio.
I wonder where. Yeah, that's a good
Find those
question.
pigeons.
I have no idea.
10 seconds left before
I don't think they're
insertion.
that far away. I don't think they're in the countryside.
5
Maybe they're
seconds
super
left.
loud pigeons.
I mean, they are generally kind of loud, aren't
Attackers
they?
must locate
Or
and
no, that's
defuse the
seagulls.
bomb.
I'm thinking of seagulls.
Both birds. How did Neptunes just get hurt?
I'm not sure. Probably a shotgun. Probably, I imagine Goddess was opening up a rotation with her shotgun and accidentally hit him in the leg or something with one of the pellets through a wall.
Very minimal damage. Another operator comes out for easily, this time on Thatcher, and he's something that we've watched a little bit and how flexible he can be, and this is going to be the last attack for Rogue, so they want to try to get it right. Now, a 4-2 scoreline on a Villa defense, not terrible. Actually pretty normal. So it's not the point of no return just yet for Rogue, though you don't want to toss this round away, of course.
No, you gotta play it as safe and smart as possible. I'd say that Rogue should be confident given how much work they managed to do last round, and they executed a very basic strategy in that they took it through Master. Sorry.
We'd just like to say that for the record, I asked for a glass of water from production, and they brought me an espresso cup filled with water, and it is barely a mouthful.
It's like a
It's the
shot.
smallest, it's like a shot of water.
You gotta shoot this water, Parker. He's gonna do it.
I'm not going to do it.
He's not going to do it. Okay. Okay, so yes, the reason Rogue was so successful in that last round, I think, was just because they added another dimension to their attack. They took in through Master, and then they had Crossfire from the hallway, and Master is a really good take. I mean, it's basic take, but a good take.
It's very refreshing. It's exactly what I wanted. Thank you, production. Rogue have been running a lot of Nomad here on Villa. A lot of teams do. And you've seen how effective that the Nomad can be, just at being able to keep one side of the map away from the rest of the defenders. Looks like Eclipse just also used a frag grenade to take out one of the Evil Eye cams. And the Evil Eye cams actually haven't been that effective in terms of doing what they do best, but they've been very effective at using utility and gadgets, either primary gadgets or secondary gadgets. If they've burned out this ADS here, then this is going to be catch. But it doesn't even sound like it goes off, so it might have actually been snagged by the ADS at the final second with a point of frustration for Rogue. They've got complete control of the site. They just waltz right in. Nobody is dead just yet, but I say that a little too soon. As Rogue doubles up on the Sonics, Goddess gets a kill, but then Avian and Neptunes are also removed from play. Eclipse tries to vault on in. Goddess takes him down, taken out by Easily. Ghost is there to catch Slash and comes on up. He almost drops Shuttle on so low HP. It's Super in a 1v2 against his former squad. It's going to be the round on the line as he creeps on up. You can see marks on your screen indicating the fact that Super is not going to be flying in blind. Another diffuser goes down successfully. He spots the leg, but oh no! Immobilized by the air jab at the last second. And Rogue, gifted by Vertical's placement of the air jab earlier, down goes the Valkyrie, and Rogue will pick up their second round in a row.
So can I first say that that was the messiest round we've seen so far? An absolute, well, brawl, I guess is how I would put it. And Rogue came out on top. They forced themselves in, they took fights, and they won those fights. Sonics not expecting that absolute just outright aggression from Rogue to happen, and it almost backfired on Rogue when we saw the pulse come up the Astro stairs, but a nice flick from Shuttle meant that Rogue was able to take that one. So good job to Rogue for winning 2 of the 6 attacking rounds. Now it'll be Sonic's turn to attack, and they're going to have to attack into a clash of all things. And Rogue are also going for this between sites reinforcement, so it seems like this has become a specific reinforcement that is now meta, I suppose. It's quite interesting. I like it. I think it's really allowing for more versatility in terms of site play. The one cool thing about that reinforcement is actually that you can use it to deny either site. So you put a rotation hole to the right of the reinforcement, and then you put like C4 holes or gas canister holes to the left of the reinforcement, and then you can rotate on the right side and then always throw your C4 or gas canisters to either site through the left side. So you have perfect denial from the murder holes, but you also have rotation and right on the reinforcement. It's a really simple thing, and it influences the round a lot, so it's worth talking about.
A lot of flexibility gets provided by it.
Yeah,
And it really opens things up as well.
And you always like to see those little, very small innovations coming out.
Not like the defense needed any help on Villa already, but they found one.
Yeah, and again, Clash, I think, is going to be a potentially very influential operator here. Quite interesting. Goddess has taken a lot of damage early on. Don't know what happened there. Be a spawn peek?
I'm not sure if Rogue is going to be in a position to take a spawn peek unless they had somebody positioned up by the study door. That would be the only thing that I could possibly think about.
It could have been the Clash going for a zap, but I seriously doubt the Clash did that much damage. Oh, you can see, by the way, what they're doing with the Clash here. To quickly highlight, they have an open up games room bar wall, and that's going to allow the Clash to play on this position and fall back if necessary, but they're also heavily supporting this play with a smoke and a bandit. So this is an aggressive play from Rogue, and it's going to pay off early on.
Taking down Neptunes with one C4 and then a Toxic Canister will push back the remaining members of Sonics who dare try to confront the Clash at the stairwell. They're now going to have to find another entry point in. So for the time being, Eclipse is just going to continue to exist. There's really nothing to stop him. He's going to do a lot of damage and slow the Zofia down. If there's no stuns there, then the Zofia is going to be in trouble. And of course, you can tell that it's Ghost just by the skin that's being ran. Pushing all the way on up. Oh, Easily there for some cover. And down goes Ghost. A successful bandit trick. At least it appeared to be somewhat successful. But Goddess isn't going to be able to see anything because of the deployable shield in the way. I'm sure a point of frustration. She's got her back turned, and the bandit could run out and be able to capitalize on this. The Nomad of Avian is spotted, and indeed, Slash is able to take down Goddess, leaving us in a 5v2 with the shotgun not being able to do enough. Slash is still there. He's got one position looking for the head, and it's Eclipse who will unsheath the machine pistol and dual super and end up walking away with it. A perfect flick with the shield on his back, and that machine pistol is pretty nasty after its buff. Rogue will now take round number 3 in a row, their first on defense.
I gotta say, I absolutely love that strategy there from Rogue. When Sonics came out of study and hit the Clash, it was like hitting a brick wall. And there was, I think, you could say it was an overly aggressive play at the end there, but it was a synchronized push, so it wasn't throwing this for sure. I love the way that Rogue set themselves up there on Aviator. That's beautiful to see. I think that's going to be something that Sonics are going to have to completely revise their strategy on. And by that I mean they're going to need to stop taking in through study and try to clear out, I think, the roamers by Master, hit 90, and move from there. So that is going to, I think, derail the entire thought process on attack of Aviator for Sonics, and it would be impressed if they were able to win the next time they have to attack on Aviator when Rogue goes there, probably in the 4th round. So, or 4th round and second half, pardon me. So, good job to Rogue. That's going to give them some confidence, I would say, moving on to other sites. I want to see if they're going to have any other kind of new strategies to show us on these other sites. Specifically here, Trophy is the next one being brought. So far, it looks like they're just setting up for a pretty standard roam strategy, pardon me, by Games Room and Aviator, which is, kind of going to rely on the ability to rotate back to site. So the fact that Sonics have a Lion could hurt this roam potentially quite a lot for Rogue, but it depends on how safe they play. Depends on it really is the sort of, when you set up for this kind of roam, it is the sort of thing that it's very much in your hands whether you're successful or not. The camera's not going to see anything, unfortunately, for Rogue, as it went way too far. Neptune's clearing out in the basement. Potentially could catch someone off guard, but it doesn't seem like Rogue are too keen on vertical roaming. Just horizontal right now.
Did you notice if Slash was running the shotgun on Ella? It's, SQ is just in! They take out Slash, they'll spring forward. Ghost picks up 2 kills. Looking for more. Shuttle tries to retake, but he can't do it. It's a pulverization from the Sonics right now in vertical. Very tepidly, we'll need to try to retake. Beautifully played by the Sonics so far to utilize the Lion's Call to shut down any opportunity for somebody to come back. Ghost's hot hand is cooled off, but Super's there to be able to grab the very final kill, and Rogue's 3-round winning streak is snapped, with the 5th round coming in for the Sonics.
I didn't see about the shotgun to answer your question, but the way that Sonics just won that rush strategy, remember we were talking about confidence in the way that Rogue set up an Aviator being so good, they had to be confident moving into the next round. Well, that just put Sonics back on the board for me in terms of momentum, and that was a really I want to say really well executed rush strat, but it wasn't necessarily a well executed rush strat because I don't think there's necessarily any such thing. I think it was more the fact that Rogue were not watching their default angles. The fact that Rogue allowed the rush strat to happen. Following the initial pick there, Soniqs had a window into trophy. They seized upon that window and they won the round. Enough said. There's not a whole lot else to add to it. And that falls on Rogue's shoulders for not shoring up the hole after they lost that first player.
I feel like your analysis actually was longer than that round.
It was. I think, yeah. Possibly. I mean, if you don't count like the first 20 seconds where nothing's happening in every siege round, other than like information gathering and setup still and stuff like that, like no actions happening, then yeah, probably. But it was a pretty simple round.
10 seconds left.
Just trying to, I don't know, flesh it out as much as possible.
Use line to keep everybody in
5
place.
seconds left.
Exploit one singular weakness. Hop in through the window, and that's it.
Can't you put like a muzzle brake on the deagle now?
You can. Vertical doesn't have time for it.
Yep. I mean, I guess.
You can also put a suppressor on it.
True. But
Pew pew.
I don't know if that's something you'd want to do necessarily. It depends. I suppose it makes it. No, actually, I would do that. I would do that because you can. You know how you can make really big holes with the deagle? Well, when you're making holes in a wall, the tracers can often be your demise, and suppressor could help with that because they eliminate tracers. That's nice. Maybe if that's what you're going for.
Right.
Very specific use case. Is that an unreinforced? Oh, because they're roaming. Yeah. So Rogue here again on the deep south roam, and they're just going to try and delay the Soniqs as much as possible. Because it's not a rush strat, that might actually work out.
We've seen this a number of times. Once again, the Invisigun out here from Eclipse. It's going to be used for the second time. We saw Jaeger using it as well. Yes, indeed. It's Echo actually has been giving his tech out that is used on the Yokai drone.
What a nice guy.
I think it's very kind and gracious of him, but anywho, we promised that there's a gun in the hands of Eclipse. This is rough position for Shuttle. It looked like Easley might be coming to the rescue, but Goddess is there to have the cross, unless Easley was dying somewhere else. Shuttle's still in a position to be able to heal himself up, and he's going to pop him up to Classical Hall and make some music all on his own, but he can't connect all the shots that he needs. There's one that was able to scamper on out. I don't think he knows where, but it's 2 for Rogue to be able to bring this right back. 3v3, as Goddess and Neptunes will be no longer in play for the next 90 seconds. Shuttle's still got the Nomad here as well, but he fires a bit too soon. Unlucky for him on that trigger discipline, could have possibly netted him the remainder of Avian's HP. Keep in mind, there's still 2 stim pistols for Shuttle as well.
So the big factor here is that Rogue had Shuttle at 90, and Soniqs didn't drone that out thoroughly enough, and he is going to do so much damage because of that. And even more for Shuttle. A beautiful triple kill in this round. He's going for a 4th, and he's going to get it! A 4K from Shuttle, coming from 90, and just not getting droned out by the Soniqs. No information allows Shuttle to just wreck absolute havoc, and well, that was a pretty singular performance there from Shuttle.
It's hard to combat somebody who just cannot be shaken off of their position, it would seem. Yeah. And no, you're right. It wasn't drone work. There was not a lot of coordination. You know, there was an asphyxiating bolt that was thrown in to try and push out the dock, but there was no follow-up, and then the dock jumped up onto the downed hutch, or the desk that's positioned at 90, saw the Nomad all the way at the end of the other hall, pushed on into the billiards bar area, and that was that.
So look at this, 6-pick off of the Clash into a Valkyrie, which means that the strategy that Rogue pulled out on that Aviator bar defense is going to be shifted here, which is, I like seeing this from Rogue. It proves adaptability. It also proves that they're trying to play one step ahead of their team or their opponent. Whether or not it's going to work out is beside the point. They're proactively changing their strategy as opposed to changing it after they have been countered, which is nice to see. And well, I'm sure it will probably throw the Soniqs through. You know, it'll force them to at least jump over a small hurdle, in that they have to change their strategy somewhat to what they were expecting because of the change in strategy from Rogue. So that's cool. Whether or not it's going to work out is to be seen.
5 seconds to insertion.
Vertical, it looks like he's going to be going on a deep solo roam. So the reason I suggest that it might be solo is because he's putting up these barricades. It gives you more prompting if you don't have information from your teammates on if you're being pushed from wherever you don't want to be pushed from. Legion as well, to add on top of that. It's just going to be a good solo operator there. That reinforcement we've been seeing between sites no longer there, but hey, small little tidbits. And it's still set up the same way. It's just not a hard wall anymore.
I think one thing that we can agree upon is how flexible both of these teams have been.
True.
Rogue in particular is always a team that is touted for their flexibility and being able to.
Here.
It's been shining here, absolutely. And even though they didn't get the results that they wanted through those first 4 rounds, where Rogue definitely seemed to be throwing everything at what the Sonics had, they were able to finally bring it back together. And yeah, we've seen quite a number of different operators be trotted out now by Rogue to be able to, you know, get under the skin and just simply beat Sonics to the punch.
Yeah, and get it back together before the transition of the half, too, which is always impressive. It's not going to be one of those really rigid 6 attack wins, then 6 attack wins, or vice versa. We've seen those a lot, and you got to respect Rogue for it. You also got to respect Sonics, though. They are currently in the lead, been having a good one so far, and that rush strat, you know, again, did actually turn out to be the correct move in the moment.
The only window here for a victory for Rogue is to be pixel perfect over the remaining 3 rounds. This one and the 2 after it is 1 round for the Sonics will push them to a draw at worst. Rogue's stead right now, their defensive hold on this Aviator wall, has utilized a lot of what Bandit brings to the table, his Nitro Cell and then his Bandit batteries as well. And one of the walls has been successfully taken by Goddess's X-Kairos. Still, there hasn't been a lot of movement since then. Now, Shuttle is burning, and I don't think he's aware that he was under fire. It's 2 very quick kills. 3! Neptune's is in sight, and it's completely his. Looking for a 4th, but he can't be able to outmuscle Shuttle, who's having a banger of a game himself. It's all on Vertical, whose 2 kills will not go up at all. There will be no increase there, and at minimum, the Sonics will walk away with 1 point in this particular matchup off of a strong first performance on defense and then 2 rounds on attack. Rogue will fight for the draw, but the Sonics will look to knock them out as we head to round number 11.
So that's unfortunate for Rogue, to be sure. They are going to go back to Aviator. Curious if they're going to go for the Clash strategy this time, maybe 6-pick into it instead of off of it, as that was definitely a more successful strat when they went to Aviator the first time around. We're going to find out in just a second here. But it didn't look like Rogue had a whole lot of presence. I think Shuttle was tasked with being the presence. So yeah, here it is. They will get the Clash. And they got to be kicking themselves. Obviously, hindsight 2020, they got to be kicking themselves for not doing this 2 times in a row, because then they could have avoided this match point, and then they could have potentially gotten 3 rounds out, or 3 points out of this match. But again, hindsight 2020, and what are you going to do? That's just how it is. But yes, as I was saying, Rogue were relying quite a lot on Shuttle being the pressure over on the west hallway. And because he was being pressured by the Capital on the window, there wasn't a whole lot that Shuttle could do. He ended up doing a lot of damage late in the round, but it was too late at that point because Rogue had lost so much manpower trying to play off-site and getting picked off by Sonics. So I'd say really good pressure on 90 from the Capital from Sonics, and then a nice try from Rogue and Shuttle too, but it was just too late in the round. The Capital Bolt was especially well placed, as it did a lot of damage to Shuttle, and I think he could have ended up bringing that back had he not been so lit up. So here we go. Back to the Clash strategy for Rogue, and they're going to be hard holding the top of the main stairs.
Overall, even if this is a draw for Sonics, I'd say this is considered a win given the season that they've had so far. Already they have moved themselves out of dead last place in North America. That title will now be TSM's for the time being. TSM will wait until their match against Reciprocity, who they actually defeated at DreamHack Valencia 2-0.
True.
What will be a nice heated rematch and a great way to close our show today. But the Sonics have at least vaulted up to 7th for the time being. And for Rogue, it's not always a position you want to be in, but you got to fight for that 1 point. Rogue have already put themselves at a disadvantage in comparison to some of their peers with the actual point total they have, but I mean, they're not that far off. They're only 4 points back of a playoff spot for the time being, and well, things aren't going particularly well at all as Avian and Neptunes are there. They'll look for more. Neptune's trying to find the last kill that he was involved in. Shuttle still will continue up his good play. He's been the quarterback and the backbone of this team so far, and down goes Super Capital, while Neptunes is also very low on HP.
So the very simple counter strategy there from Sonics was Ghost using the lifeline to swing the shield aside, and somebody shoots the Clash. And then there you go, done deal, Clash countered. And now Rogue are feeling the pressure as they've lost their main hold on that hallway. Shuttle is going to have to pull extra duty here, but he's not being pressured on 90 any longer, and that is such an important thing. That means he can pressure and hold, rather, the west hallway. He's doubling up on it with the Bandit, but Avian is just waiting, and he'll get a free kill for it. Nice patience from Shuttle, though, on the same angle, and that's his second there. He's got a low HP Neptunes as well, so this could potentially be some really heavy carry from Shuttle.
It's going to be up to him and Vert. Vert having a very quiet game, as I'd mentioned in the previous round, and this is Soniqs in the driver's seat looking to close this out. The match on the line, and a lot of patience right now from both teams. Rogue doesn't strike me as a team that's going to overextend or overcommit. We saw this in their match against Reciprocity. But the Soniqs are doing the same. Goddess is just completely stationary out on side of the balcony. Neptunes is rotating up to try and help Ghost, as there you go. 1x Kairos on the wall. Vertical could possibly impact Trickett if he has anything at his disposal, but no, the wall will go. He doesn't have any impacts left. Shuttle takes out Neptunes, looks for the Zofia. Oh, a lot of damage being done in the hallway, but he can't connect quite a bit. Ghost will need to lick his wounds and come on back. Rogue are in basically the best position they could be to hold this off. All the angles being held for the time being. A pre-fire on a Ghost, but he can't be able to get past this threshold, as Shuttle will watch quite intently, but no, it's a crossfire. It's all up to Vertical. Is he going to be able to stop the planter? Oh no, he gets taken down, and Goddess the last minute. She's able to pull out heroics in the dying seconds, and it's revenge for Super over his former team, and Avian 2. Let's not forget them. Soniqs will pick up their very first victory of the season and 3 big points on the round. And we'll get to hear from them in just a moment. But that's as good of a result as you could ask for.
That was heartbreaking to watch. One very specific thing to point out there is the way Vertical played inside of B.